She tests you. She pushes your buttons. She wants to see, can she control you? Most men fold and they apologize. They chase. But a Stoic man? He doesn't fight for control. He removes her ability to even try. In this video, I'll show you exactly how Stoic men silently outsmart women who play control games, without anger, without drama, and without losing themselves. Welcome to Stoic 95, where we teach men how to build quiet power, emotional strength, and unshakable control. Women aren't the enemy, but many test for weakness, and if you don't learn to see through it, you'll slowly lose your identity. So, if you're ready to stop being manipulated and start being respected, let's dive in. Number 1. He doesn't react emotionally to her games. A Stoic man is an immovable force, not because he suppresses emotion, but because he has mastered it. When she pulls away with silence, when she tests his frame with flirtation or manipulation, the average man gets thrown into chaos. He starts chasing, pleading, reacting, but not the Stoic. He remains unmoved, centered in his own power. He knows that every game she plays is a reflection of her internal chaos, not his. Her silence doesn't disturb his peace. Her provocations don't shake his identity. He understands the deepest Stoic truth. You don't control others. You only control your response. And that makes him dangerous because most people have never met someone they couldn't manipulate. Real power is emotional discipline. Picture this. Your girl pulls the classic silent treatment. Days go by, no texts, no calls. Your friends are saying, bro, hit her up, don't let her go. But the Stoic man doesn't chase ghosts. He doesn't act from fear of loss. He's not glued to his phone like a boy desperate for validation. He's grounded, focused, purpose-driven. He's building, he's training, he's living. And in that stillness, she begins to question herself. Why doesn't he break? Why isn't he crawling back? That confusion, that silence becomes her mirror. And the game, it collapses. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Emotional self-mastery is not weakness, it's the ultimate masculine power, because when you can't be provoked, you can't be controlled. The game stops being fun when she realizes you are playing. A different game altogether, the game of mastery, of legacy, of becoming unshakable. Number 2, he sets boundaries without needing to explain himself. A man who knows his worth doesn't beg for approval. He doesn't defend his standards like a criminal on trial. When he says no, it's not up for debate. When he draws a line, it's not a suggestion, it's a declaration. Stoic men understand this deeply. They don't set boundaries to manipulate or punish others. They do it to protect their peace, their principles, and their purpose. Because the moment you start explaining every decision, you've already lost ground. You've handed over your frame. A man anchored in Stoic strength knows this truth. Silence is often the loudest answer. Take this real-life example. A man dates a woman who constantly tests his limits. Disrespectful comments, jealous behavior, subtle manipulation. One night during a dinner, she mocks his ambition in front of others. He doesn't lash out. He doesn't argue. He calmly pays. The bill drives her home and doesn't call her again. No drama, no long texts, no explanations. She might rage. She might guilt trip. But it doesn't matter. His silence is his boundary. In that moment, he embodies what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The truth, respect isn't negotiable. This isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. Controlling people hate boundaries because boundaries block their power plays. But a Stoic man doesn't flinch. He knows that his time, energy, and mental clarity are sacred, and he won't let emotional chaos corrupt them. When a woman raises her voice to test his patience, he doesn't shout back. He calmly walks away. When she threatens to leave to provoke a reaction, he opens the door, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. It's not about dominance, it's about discipline. And in a world where most men fold under pressure, the one who doesn't explain himself becomes unforgettable. Number 3, he doesn't compete for her attention. Most men panic when a woman pulls away. They flood her phone with texts. They try to reignite her interest with gifts, long messages, or worse, begging. It's a frantic dance for validation. But the Stoic man walks a different path. He doesn't compete, he doesn't chase, he doesn't crumble when her affection cools. Why? Because he understands one of life's hardest truths. You cannot control another person's emotions, only your response to them. The Stoic sees love not as a prize to win, but as a gift to be shared, freely and without dependence. He knows that trying to force connection is the beginning of self-betrayal. Picture Marcus Aurelius during the chaos of war, focused, composed, undistracted by things he cannot govern. That's the model. When a woman pulls back, the Stoic man doesn't grip tighter. He lets go. Not as a strategy, but as a reflection of inner peace. He's not cold, he's centered. There's a difference. He honors his own value, and that unshakable self-respect radiates louder than any pleading words. In the end, it's this very refusal to chase that makes him magnetic. Because emotional independence is rare and irresistible. He doesn't need her attention to feel complete. That kind of strength, it creates gravity, it commands respect, and often it sparks desire. She starts to wonder why he isn't desperate. And that mystery, that power pulls her back in. But the Stoic man doesn't notice he's already moving forward. Mission first, always, because love is beautiful. But a man's purpose, that's sacred. Number 4, he analyzes her intentions, not just her words. A man rooted in Stoicism doesn't get distracted by the poetry of lips. He reads the truth in behavior. Words can lie, smiles can deceive, but actions, they never fail to speak. The modern Stoic man understands that control, especially in relationships, often comes veiled, not in harsh commands, but in guilt-tripping glances, sudden emotional withdrawal, or affection that's given only when he bends. This is not love. It's manipulation wearing a dress of intimacy. He doesn't react to every word she says. He steps back and asks, what does she gain when I comply? And what does she take when I stand firm? Imagine this. You set a boundary. Maybe it's about your time, your friends, or your purpose. She smiles and says it's okay, but a cold front follows. The warmth fades, the intimacy dries up. Suddenly you're apologizing for being your own man. That's not a disagreement. That's emotional conditioning. And if you're not vigilant, you'll start bending just to bring the heat back, unaware that you're being trained. Trained to comply, trained to submit, and worst of all, trained to fear your own strength. The Stoic man sees through this. He watches, not to catch her in a lie, but to understand the deeper game being played. Epictetus said, "Man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes of them." So the Stoic doesn't rage, he doesn't lash out, he doesn't play the victim. He becomes a quiet observer of patterns. Does she show love only when you're weak? Does she punish your independence? Then your strength is not welcome. It's threatening, and that's your signal. The world doesn't need more reactive men, it needs sharp ones, men who act not from emotion but from clarity, because the moment you stop chasing her words and start reading her intent, that's the Moment you become unshakable. Not cold, just clear. Number 5. He stays grounded in his mission. In a world full of noise, a man without a mission is like a ship without a compass, tossed around by waves, pulled by currents, and vulnerable to sinking under pressure. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." A grounded man doesn't drift. He moves with intent. He wakes up with fire in his chest and clarity in his mind. Why? Because his mission comes first. It's the cornerstone of his identity, not something he sacrifices to make someone else feel secure. A woman, especially a strong one, can sense when you've drifted from your path. And while she might ask for your attention, deep down, what she truly craves is your direction. Let's get brutally real for a second. Most men have at some point dropped everything for a woman. They rearranged their schedules, let their goals slide, made her their world, and in the end, she lost respect for them. Why? Because women don't want to be your purpose. They want to be part of a man who has purpose. She wants to know that if the world is burning, you're still focused, still composed, still building. That if she leaves, your empire doesn't fall, it expands. You're not ignoring her emotions. You're just not enslaved to them. That's the balance. That's what leadership looks like. And that's what earns real respect. Not just affection, but admiration. If you place her above your mission, you lose both. She doesn't want to be the sun you orbit. She wants to orbit your gravity, your focus, your strength, your purpose. When you stand tall and unwavering, not only do you remain in control of your life, but you give her what she's truly looking for, safety in your leadership, not dominance, but direction. Because in the end, a Stoic man doesn't just pursue a mission, he becomes it. Are you living yours, or have you forgotten who you are? Number 6, he's not afraid to walk away. There's a power few men ever master. It's not brute strength, it's not wealth, it's not dominance. It's the power to walk away, to leave behind anything that insults his soul. The Stoic man doesn't beg for respect. He doesn't negotiate his peace. He knows what it costs to stay somewhere his dignity is bleeding out day by day, and he refuses to pay that price. This isn't about arrogance, it's about self-respect. When a man learns to detach, not in bitterness but in clarity, he becomes unshakable. That's when the world stops using him. That's when manipulative women lose their grip. Because when you can leave the table when respect is no longer being served, you finally take your seat at the table of real power. Think about the man who stays in a toxic relationship, enduring emotional manipulation, weaponized silence, or sex used like a currency. Why does he stay? Fear. Fear of loneliness. Fear of starting over. But the Stoic sees solitude differently. Not as a punishment, but as a proving ground. He understands that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Sometimes, the silence of solitude speaks louder than the noise of dysfunction. And here's the twist. When a woman realizes she can't control a man with guilt, sex, or emotional games, she has only 2 options: elevate herself or exit. Either outcome, you win. Because a woman who's worthy will rise, and one who isn't will reveal herself. And you? You stay grounded. You stay whole. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free," but the modern man must ask, free from what? The answer, free from needing approval, free from the chains of desperation, free from the fear of loss. No man can call himself sovereign if he's terrified of walking away. The Stoic knows that some doors have to close for better ones to open, and sometimes the only way to grow is to go. So if you're clinging to something that's killing your spirit, ask yourself, is this love? or just your fear of being alone in disguise. The day you can walk away, not in hate, but in power. That's the day you become unstoppable. Number 7. He leads with calm, not control. Stoic men don't fight for power. They lead with calm authority. They don't try to dominate women with aggression or fear. Instead, they inspire trust with emotional steadiness, clarity, and consistency. Woman may test him, she may resist, but in time she either respects his leadership or removes herself from his life. And the Stoic man? He doesn't force anything, because he knows that control isn't about holding tighter. It's about letting go of what weakens you and holding firm to what makes you stronger. Conclusion. You don't need to fight her. You don't need to control her. You just need to master yourself, and once you do, no woman, no matter how manipulative, will ever be able to shake your foundation. Comment below. I lead with calm, not control. And if this video gave you clarity, share it with a brother who's going through manipulation right now. Make sure to subscribe to Stoic 95 for more masculine, Stoic wisdom. Stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, the most powerful man is the one she can't control.